Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill DeMent, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall drywall repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Hey, Bill.
James, here we are once again.
The adventure of 2024 is quickly coming to an end.
It was a good year, though, wasn't it?
It was a really good year. I want to take a quick second just to kind of thank our listeners. We don't have crazy numbers, right? But we have some dedicated, loyal listeners. And frankly, I don't care if we have one listener or a million. I just like what we do, and we're going to keep doing this. But thank you for all those who have been listening. I found out the other day that my sister has been listening almost religiously every Saturday.
Right?
So shout out to Heather, my sister. So thank you for listening. I've got people all over the world in my family and friend group that are listening. It's great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We had a comment, multiple comments lately where people from all over the country, I'm like, well, I didn't know people in Dallas were listening to us. It's a neat feeling to kind of think that we have a little bit more reach than I thought. And I thought that would be a really good time. You know, we did this last year, January 2nd, we did a year in review. We kind of looked back at the last year. So this will be, one of the last podcasts, if not the last podcast of this year, or maybe the first of next year, depending on when it drops. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of look backwards because, we've had almost 50 guests or 50 podcasts in 2024.
We had a bunch.
And we had so many great people and we had so many great topics. And I thought maybe we could just do a quick podcast to kind of hit the highlight reels of things that really stuck out to us and things that we thought might be worth remembering.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. So what podcast number is this? We've been at it now. We calculated 2.5 years, essentially.
Yeah, we're somewhere in the early 120s. But, technically 122, but we may drop one before this one.
Right.
So we'll see.
Okay. So 120, 122 episodes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of podcasts.
It is. It's a lot. I mean, and we do it almost every week. I mean, we've only missed a couple of weeks for the entire year. It's just a Thanksgiving or a vacation week or something. Nothing crazy. But we really try to make a point to, if we're not going to be here, we have one or two in the can. If our editor isn't going to be here, we try and have a couple so it's ready to go. But I tell you what, we had a couple of repeat guests this year. I know that we're really big fans of Bonnie Gidro-Magarer. She's the owner of Be Powered Consulting. She's a great business coach.
Yeah, you know what? She was integral to us being able to put together a very high-level professional training program.
Yeah.
She guided us, held our feet to the fire, gave us homework.
Yeah.
And did it all with a soft touch and with care, respect, and always with an eye towards making it as good as it could be.
Yeah. And frankly, she endured us because every conversation we have an hour, we have 2 hours. And ultimately we would end up just kind of shooting the breeze because we like hanging out with her and she's a nice lady. And we then 3 or 4 of us get around, we start talking and we're, yucking it up. Oh, we got some work to do.
Yeah. And then when we had some really positive, and we'll probably get into it later, but we had some really positive franchising news this year. She was happier than us, I think. She was so proud for us.
Huge cheerleader. And frankly, we had a lot of data that we had. And if it wasn't for she was the wrangler. She was the data wrangler.
She was awesome.
And then she would see, well, here's what you got, but you have a gap right here.
Yeah.
And so we have to go fill the gap. And so she really kept us on track. So Bonnie, if you're listening, we love you.
Obviously one of our favorites. Welcome back on the show anytime.
Absolutely. And we had a lot of one-offs. We had a lot of repeat customers, but then we had a lot of like one-offs. We had Mandy Waters with Merit Solutions talking about HR.
Yeah.
Our friend Christy Neruzzi, she's fabulous, and Credit Christy, and she talks
dynamic person, bright, my goodness.
Crazy. And then we got experienced somebody who he came not as somebody to represent his business, but Brad Berry came just as a leader. And we got schooled on leadership, not once, but twice.
Yeah. And hopefully 1 or 2 more times this coming year.
Absolutely.
He's an awesome guest.
Well, what's nice is because he is a steward of learning. So he's always learning. So I am less of in my spare time, I'm reading a leadership book and more of a doer or I'm a play hard, work hard kind of guy. So I get the cliff notes from Brad. So when Brad comes in, he says, hey, I got this new thing. Here's what I learned. And you're like, oh, That's great. I'm going to take that note.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Brad works with some really intelligent and motivated people, and you better be at least as intelligent and more motivated than them. And that's exactly what Brad brings.
Yeah. Gotta be on your toes for sure. We really had one of our first franchisor guests this year, Crystal. She was the owner. She is the owner of the franchise with 3C Wellness. Or is it C3 Wellness? I think it's C3 Wellness and Spa. And where she told her entire story, where she had, Riviera Spa, and she had this whole building a franchise out, and she realized that that trademark was already taken, and she had to rebrand her entire company. And that great story. She's obviously a military vet, and she's and she's really built this. She started in a closet of a retirement community.
Yeah.
And now she's got multiple locations. She's selling franchises. And it was a really inspirational story for a female minority veteran-owned business.
Yeah.
Just a fascinating
and she's winning.
And she's winning.
Her business is growing, and she's winning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So proud.
Yeah, extremely proud. We've had our good buddy Andy Lonzak with Precision Auto Wraps.
He's been on a few times. He's just a good friend.
Yeah. I think he was on twice last year, just to kind of talk about branding and vehicle wraps, and then how he had to rebrand his company because he was creative imaging wraps. Now he had to move over to precision wraps.
Yeah,
because he's thinking about expansion. He's thinking about growth, thinking about ways that he can then scale his business. And he couldn't do it with the other brand. He had to create something from scratch. That's a good podcast, actually. I really like that podcast a lot.
Yeah.
And we had one of the best business coaches / entrepreneur type person with Sanjay Parekh. He was on twice
and
last year
his
too.
Buttery smooth accent.
Smooth Indian accent.
Oh man, everything he says sounds smart. Like, could you hand me a tissue? It's just like, that was so insightful.
But he's come from a background of manufacturing, and he's, multiple overseas international businesses.
Just an absolute treasure trove of experiences.
And just to learn from somebody like this, to really count him as, as a friend and be in my friend sphere is amazing.
Yeah.
And have him on the show twice, it's great.
No, he'll be coming back.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's going to be a repeat offender for sure. We really, but we don't, people may not see, but we have a marketing company that we call our own, although she owns her own company. But Trish Murphy with Marketing Smarting Pants, she is integral to the entire, hole in the wall world, because she has helped build our brand. And so every now and then she'll come on and she'll do a podcast and just drop some latest knowledge on marketing skills, which is fabulous, because sometimes business owners hate marketing.
Yeah.
Like, well, what can I do? How much? Oh, that's going to be too expensive. I can't pay someone to do that. And so she really kind of dispels those myths, as well as she's a female veteran-owned business.
And a student of the marketing game. So she stays abreast of all the new developments, trends, and she once in a while she'll say, we need to be doing this. Yep. Here's a new thing. I think, let me run this by you guys.
Yeah.
Actually, she's always right.
She hit me with a couple things this morning too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
And as we grow as a franchisor, being able to own that side of the business is so crucial. So we couldn't do without her for sure. And we had a couple really good consultants. We had Cheryl Mays with Rise and Shine Consulting and Coaching. She was here, another fabulous guest where she just drops more business knowledge on us. So so now we've had Bonnie, we've had Sanjay, and now we've had Cheryl, all like coaches. Yeah. And we've not even gotten down to Sean Lyden and all those, so we have so many smart people that we've been able to really engage with. So I love that completely. And on the tech side, Justin Spears came in, with Mexi Consulting.
Yeah.
He is the king of like automation and making sure things, save your time by building processes.
He is an original thinker. He's not following anybody else. He's cooking this stuff up.
We had a repeat guest, Wendy Grant with Winvia, obviously the wife of our attorney, Gerard Grant.
Yep.
And I love her story because she's literally in her garage and has created a beauty empire just from her home business.
And some terrific product.
Yeah. I will say we've had some good guests, but there are some podcasts that you and I just kind of get going, and it's just me and you. And we've had some really good, I feel some really good podcasts. We've not done very many of just the two of us this year.
Yeah.
We did the Refresh one last year. We did a bunch of other good ones, but We did one that was like a "Don't Go It Alone."
Episode 91. That was a good one.
And I like this one because it really enforces you are sometimes on an island by yourself if you're a solo entrepreneur or if you're a business owner with some employees. You can't be weak and vulnerable with your employees. You can't give them the false expectation or the nervousness that, are we going to make it? Right. So you have to be able but to try and own every aspect of your business, from marketing to accounting to legal to whatever it is impossible.
Yeah. And you need partners in that. We actually were talking just this week to another very successful entrepreneur who is franchising his business, has sold almost 150 territories in 2 years, very successful. And his point was, I got better when I started getting franchisees, when I began bringing more people in. Not only was I bringing value to them, but he said it was like adding another cylinder to the engine. Every time I brought one of these clever, motivated people in, it just made us better. And then they were coming to him with ideas after that.
Well, I got that soundbite, I think, loaded up for the shorts.
That was spot on.
Now you turn into a V8, then you turn into a V12. It's like all of a sudden you have these, when you have 60 plus business owners.
It just gains momentum,
150 territories. It's huge momentum.
Yeah.
We have a really neat relationship with Tyler Speck from Squid Crate. If you've gone on our YouTube channel and you've seen our video testimonies, or you've seen our franchise commercials, and you've seen our business cards, these are all videos that we did not put together ourselves. But we have somebody who knows our brand so well that he's helped kind of shape our voice in the video world.
Yeah.
He helps me with the podcast. He does all of our video shorts for the podcast.
Yeah.
And Tyler's been on multiple times. I think he was on a couple times this year as well, just dropping some video knowledge. Because what's really neat, I love his philosophy, is like, you can answer the phone and answer the exact same questions every time, right? Or you can put forth a video that answers a lot of those questions ahead of time that might save you time. And the video works 24/7.
Yeah.
So those videos are on your, just on your website.
It's true. And how many people do we talk to about buying a hole in the wall franchise? And we're like, have you been to our podcast? Have you seen our videos? And they're always like, yeah, because that's where they start.
Yeah, they start there. So having a partner and dispel the myth that video is expensive. It's not expensive if you have the right partner to do it. So thank you, Tyler, for all that.
Looking forward to having him back again.
Yeah.
1 or 2 times this year. Just a bright guy.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. There's a great story with a local bakery, Trisha Haig, with Charlie's Bakery and Creamery, where they took a brand that's been around since like the 70s, purchased it a few years back, and kind of gave it a full refresh.
Yeah.
We had her back tell her story again. And she's just a great kind of go-getter.
She is. And it's a great story. They expanded after they bought it. They expanded. They bought out the company next door and literally were over there moving the stuff for the guys so they could do construction. I mean, she's like, let's just find some solutions.
Yeah, she's a solutions person for sure. We've had Tamara Monlouis, Monovan Digital, talking about digital marketing. We've had Ali Glazari with our CPA. Now, Ali is our personal and business CPA. He does all of our taxes. He's an international business guy, knows all the laws, knows all the legal ways to keep the money in our pockets. Great resource. And what's funny is he charges me hundreds of dollars an hour, and he came on the podcast for free to drop a ton of knowledge. So that's episode 95. And if you haven't listened to it, I believe it's something that you guys
worth a listen.
Definitely well worth a listen for sure. What else we got here, Bill?
We had Deborah Mitchell.
Yep, another marketer, and Deborah was big wig in the
Emmy nominated TV and video marketing strategist. I mean, she was on some big major network stuff.
Yeah, so now we have 3 marketers: Trish, we had Tamara, we have Deborah. I mean, multiple. I mean, they're all our friends, and we hire some and we don't hire the other ones, but they all want to share this knowledge. We partner with a few nonprofits. Obviously, we're partnering with FAVOB, the Florida Association of Veteran-Owned Businesses, but we also have Maria with the Camaraderie Foundation.
Yeah.
And to talk about how they're helping military vets transition from being in the military to transitioning to the working world, not just the vet itself, but their family as well, helping them kind of go through life, and they'll help pay for psychologists and counselors,
right? And not just for the vet, right? This is for the entire family that's affected.
Yeah, listen, the vet is gone for years potentially, and they come home and the family has had to move without them in their life daily. They come back and it's like, ta-da, I'm home.
Yeah.
That's a big transition.
We also had one of my all-time favorite guys on this year, Zane DeMent. He's one of our lead technicians. He was on because we were celebrating our 500th 5-star review on Google.
Yep.
And Zane was actually the technician that got that. And he came on to talk about it, how he gets reviews, how he looks at the work, how he considers someone's home, how he considers the guys working with him. It was a great podcast, and I was really proud of the job he did.
Yeah. And the first time we actually had one of our employees, field technicians, on the show. And Zane's a talker, so he's the kind of guy you get him ramped up.
And he's a smart guy. Yeah. He's just a smart guy.
He's kind of fun to hang out with.
Yeah, he's definitely somebody we would have back again.
Yeah, and really to celebrate milestones is kind of fun because, we didn't realize when we started, but our technicians actually listen to our podcast in the field.
That was a surprise.
So it was kind of a nice surprise to have him on there. And then really now we're rounding the second half of the year where we had it was just full of really great insights. And, I don't want to spend forever talking about each individual one, but I really think it's important that because every time I look at this list and I go backwards, I go, oh man, that was really good.
That was so good. Yeah.
And I tell you, there's things on this list I go, that was in June? Like Tony from Level Up Automation, that was in June.
Wow.
That was over 6 months ago. I'm like, wow, it literally feels like it was just a couple weeks ago. We just had her on there. And Level Up is a great company where they do home automation and their story about how she left Bose and her partner Scott.
Yeah.
This company.
It's the next level.
Yeah.
It's not off the shelf.
No.
Stuff you're getting at a big box store.
And as a franchisee, because they bought a franchise and they were I think one of the first 5s for Level Up. So they really were early adopters of this emerging brand.
Yeah.
So I loved hearing that story. And then in July, we actually celebrated our 100th episode.
How many podcasts make it 100?
Very few. They say that most podcasts die before their 7th episode. And that if you can get past 7 episodes, you're in the top 20% of all podcasts.
Wow, what do you? I wonder what percentage you're in if you get it to 100.
Yeah, I don't know, but
it's been fun though. I really had my reservations when we began.
Yeah.
And if you go back and listen to some of those early episodes, I wasn't used to listening to myself talking, and not that we're great, but have gotten more comfortable. I don't know that we've gotten any better, but I've definitely gotten more comfortable.
Well, a lot of podcasts have seasons, so they'll be on for 3 to 4 months, and then they'll take a break, and they'll come on and they take a break. And so the fact that we can just consistently just push forward, and we had to reflect on why we started the podcast. We wanted to document our franchise journey. You and I both have decades of experience in business and in life, and so sharing that. But in the process, we learned about other businesses, and we've now grown because we've had other smart people on our show, people that we would never necessarily have thought about having or experiencing, but now we meet multiple people. I mean, we met Michael Haynes from AC Direct.
You know what? So many people come on the program and they have a message for us. They have information to drop on us. But when I met Michael Haynes and figured out what he did, I was just like, I'm going to the theater.
Yeah.
Where's my popcorn? I'm going to watch the show. And man, the story he told about how he started selling air conditioning units online. He was the first guy to do that.
An innovator, literally selling them on eBay.
And he talks about how he received threatening letters from AC contractors, from their attorneys, and was threatened. And he just didn't quit. And wow, just a great story.
Yeah,
that was just like watching a good movie.
We've had a couple partners. We had one obviously just recently, Joe Massetti with Building Talent Foundation. But we met him when we talked with the people from the Home Builders Institute that has the Build Strong Academy here in Orlando.
Yeah,
Alex and Joseph, where they're for free taking people who want to learn the trades, and they're teaching them the basics. They're teaching most OSHA safety.
So needed.
And then they have a choice to go through a carpentry track or an electrical track. It's a free 9-week course. They get certifications, they get tools. And then we show up and we hire people from the pool of people that they have. And they've got 48 states that they're in. So as we grow, we can then tap into that for our future employees. And then just very, very, very neat conversation to see that they were there. And really, it's all based on the Home Depot Foundation. It's a nonprofit. They do this for free.
Yeah.
We've had great people. We had Sabrina. She's with Nadini Printing and Marketing Solutions. She does printing banners and stuff. She's done banners for us. Great. One of the things I'd like to talk about was Paula Wansky. She's the art of travel, and she's like that next level, you know,
Didn't even know people did that.
yeah, she's not a travel agent. She's like a concierge. Like she really in depth. They have an app built in for this stuff, and that was kind of a fun conversation because we got to learn. Hey, her background in publishing was great, but then she took all the friendship and the knowledge because she's traveled the world in publishing, and she took that right into her new business.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you, we had a surprise guest that I met, and she was just a visitor in my BNI. But Heidi Uriah with Bright Logic, remember, this was the AI podcast.
I think she might have been for raw horsepower, the smartest person we had on this year.
Yeah, this may be the leader for podcast of the year because there was so much that we learned that we didn't know. I'm an AI guy. I'm on ChatGPT. I'm using a lot of the AI stuff, but she just took it to the next level.
Well, and business is moving that way.
Yeah,
it's here. It's just like back in the 70s, the late 60s, when the computers first started. It's here, and it's only going to continue to grow and develop and to mature.
Yeah,
she's probably somebody we would like to have back on to track what are the new developments in AI.
Well, and she built 2 bots for our websites, so just for play. Oh, I just built these bots for you, no problem.
She probably had AI do it.
Yeah, but where they scrubbed our websites, learned we never published it, but she had one for our podcast where she literally scrubbed the entire podcast history, and you could type in like marketing, and it would give you which episode you could listen to for marketing stuff. It was really interesting, and I really like it because you always talk about I like to grind. I'm a grinder, right?
You are a grinder.
A lot of the grinding is now shifting to the AI. Remember back in the old days, the reporters were typing out their news reports on the typewriter, and then all of a sudden they went to a word processor, and now it's like in the old days you would have to, I misspelled a word, and click, and then white out. And so now we've expanded. Now we have these big, we got Word and all these great softwares, and now it's to the point that you don't even have to have, all you need is a thought, and they'll write the paragraph for you.
Yes.
So the evolution of how even that goes. And so now thinking about they're thinking about we're going to have AGI, where they're as smart as we are next year, potentially. So having a friend like Heidi in our pocket that we can talk to about these things, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
We met somebody actually through the HBI job fair, Travis Hogue, and he's a franchise owner for a large swath of Florida for OLP, the Outdoor Lighting Perspective.
Yes.
Outdoor lighting. And he really got inside of another brand owned by a brand. So learning how they worked and how he grew his company, and him and his wife started this thinking that it was going to be maybe an income replacement, but turned out to be they're owning it. They're killing it.
Yeah, they really are.
I saw 2 of their trucks driving down the street the other day. And then we actually, it was one of our first Zoom interviews for a while, but Christina Kober, this is a family friend of yours. And is she actually part of your family, or is she just
it's my wife's niece, actually. Bright lady, entrepreneur, been in business for herself. Wow, what did she say? It's been 10 or 15 years anyway. Yeah. She has some beautiful jewelry. She is a designer. She is the actual producer. She makes everything she sells.
Yeah.
In her shop.
Gorgeous stuff. A few things that have gone viral. ChristinaKober.com, Kober.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
And then we had, now we're in September, and I can't believe it's actually September when we had Sean Lydon on from Systematic Selling.
Yeah.
First, I can't believe it was way back in September that we had him on. It really feels like he was just here a couple weeks ago.
Well, but it was an instant connection.
Absolutely.
Absolutely identified and aligned with what he was saying immediately.
We know and we have friends that are business coaches, and they're all fabulous in their own right. A lot of things that we don't necessarily need, or we want to focus on what their niches are. Our focus this year was like, listen, the beginning of this year was nuts. I mean, with the wars and the election looming, and business was lower than we were anticipating. And we really had to reach into avenues and realms that we hadn't had to do before historically, because we could just kind of put our ad out there and we get work because everyone's got drywall, right? Yeah. And then Sean comes aboard and he starts talking about how you're not selling a product. You are figuring out what their problem is and seeing if you have their solution. And you don't have to sell if you say, I can fix this for you. Here's a solution for this.
Right.
Now you're not negotiating a price. You're negotiating on the value you bring to that customer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
And we like it so much that we hired him, and he's on our team. He's going to be one of our
There was one you jumped over real quick, and I just want to say Shay Sen.
Shay Sen, yes.
With Silver Lining Home Services. Great guy, entrepreneurial guy. He's a serial business owner, but understanding what his business was, helping people who are transitioning in retirement or out of their home into assisted living and things like that. As I thought about him and his business, I think he's really got something that's franchisable there.
I do too. And he actually was a franchise owner for another moving franchise that his partner wanted out. And so that did not work. And he didn't stop. He just kept moving. And with someone who has a few elderly people in their family that are thinking about transitioning into some sort of independent living facility, what do you do with all their stuff? It's you don't want to just throw it away. You don't want to throw a big estate sale. Maybe you want to donate it.
Yes.
And so Shay obviously comes in and facilitates the move into the new facility, but then he also takes the items and they sort, okay, this is something that we can donate. This is something we can maybe sell or we can recycle.
Yes.
And so very little goes in the landfill. And then he treats it with more respect than the average just mover out there. And so
what a huge business. There's 65 million baby boomers who are now 80 on the top end, all the way down to 60.
Absolutely.
And those people over the next 20 years, they're retiring. They're just aging out, and there's going to be such a demand for what he has to bring. And what a clever idea.
Yeah, I think he needs to open a location in the Villages. I think that's because that's a great place to hold a lot of old people. We're getting old, Bill.
We are old. And then we were talking about franchising versus starting from scratch, just a conversational podcast that we did. It makes a lot of sense to us. 2 years ago, I might have thought, 3 years ago, I might have thought different.
Yeah.
And we actually talked to several people about franchising this year who said, well, I'm pretty smart. How come I don't just go do it on my own?
Mm-hmm.
But the more that we spend time in franchising, I'm more convinced than ever daily it increases how impressed I am with what a proper franchise can equip you with, how much farther ahead you start than starting on your own. And there are so many skills and so many moving parts that it's virtually impossible for someone to do it on their own at anywhere near the same level.
Yeah.
You could buy into a franchise. Well,
not quickly, and not quickly. And frankly, it's very costly to do what a franchise gives you when you get awarded a franchise. It's the IP. What is the intellectual property? That's very valuable. Having a brand that people recognize or that is easy on the eyes or ears to say, that has been well thought out with a color scheme, a trademark logo, that already have the bright domain names, that has training.
Well, they've got systems.
They have systems.
That's so valuable.
And a lot of people want to own their own business, but they don't, what are you passionate about? Go start your own business and what you're passionate about. Well, that's great, but can you make money at it, right? Well, that the franchise makes money because people wouldn't be buying a franchise if they weren't making money.
Yeah.
Plus, they have the franchise disclosure document that's very transparent about where things are. So for some people, it's great. And if you're a mechanic, that's great. It doesn't mean you're going to be a good boss, right? Or maybe you're transitioning from the military and you are one of these people that says, I want to own my own business. I don't want to work for the man, but I'm not sure what business to go into. Now you've got tens of thousands of different franchise brands that you can select that might be a good fit for you. So I really like that podcast.
Then there was Frankie Rosario from the Franchise Brokers Association.
FBA. We just had a big interview with him this week. But Frankie came on. So the Franchise Brokers Association was new to us. We weren't even sure we wanted to be part of a brokers association. And now we're a member of, I think, 3. They're based in Orlando. So we blessed because we actually have them like literally right here.
Yeah.
And we've already done lots of things with that organization. They've got hundreds of brokers that are out there fishing for people who want to be their own bosses and be their own businesses. So we get to connect with him, which is amazing. We had kind of a killer story. Matthew Dusa, he's the founder of Capstone Fire, which I had no idea was a business, independent, privately owned firefighters And
didn't even know there was such a thing.
In California is where they started. Now they're in every state. They've been purchased now twice now, and he's still the president of this company. But because of his working with the EOS, entrepreneurial operating the EOS system, helped change his company from infighting with family members to a very well-structured leadership company. He loved it so much, he became a facilitator for the EOS system. And so we kind of got double duty on that podcast. We got to talk about how cool his business was as a firefighter.
And it was cool.
Very cool. And then we got to talk about EOS and how his business is.
Then we had Delbert Groves, someone near and dear to you, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was a different podcast. We do nonprofit podcasts occasionally. I sit on the board of the New Life International Mission that my dad, the nonprofit that he runs, he owns. But to sit back and just let him and then a new partner of his,
Anita Held. Yeah, she was here with him as well.
Kind of talk through just their transition, being missionaries in Zambia, Africa, and all the lives that they've been able to touch. What's funny is we kind of joked about it on the podcast where, my dad, he's in his mid 70s, but he's been in the mission field for 30 plus years, 35 years. And he's got so many stories that we don't want them to lost. We kind of joked about it on the podcast. Hey, we just need to do story time with Delbert. And Anita's run with it. She's bought all the microphones. She's getting the software. And they're going to start, because when they go back this year to Zambia, they're going to start documenting
terrific
all the stuff. I'm not sure how it's going to get posted or not, but I'll tell you what, I'll help produce it for them. But just to hear the stories, Bill, just little things. Like when they were in Congo, they'd had an outdoor kitchen. So my dad had to build with mud brick an oven so you could light a fire at the bottom, and then he had a welder make a metal grate out of rebar for the top, so you could put pots on top, and they could learn so you could cook outside.
My goodness.
And that they didn't have water inside, so he found 55-gallon drums and he mounted to the roof of the house so the sunlight would heat it during the day so they could have warm water at night. Just
nice.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
So just interesting things. Well, we're getting close to the end of the year. We're now pre-Thanksgiving. We got introduced to Ivan and Mariana Pollock with Shift Intelligence. Really a great couple, talking about how they used to be in the aero industry and they transitioned out. And now they're helping other people think long-term. We do this a lot. Begin with the end in mind. How are you going to scale and how are you going to exit?
Yeah.
Because do you want to die in this business or do you want to be able to have a life outside that? And they're helping people transition, but you have to shift your intelligence, that's the name of their business, to help them do that. And they got a few great guests on that they're helping line us up for next year. They've already become a partner of ours. They
love it.
They're amped up about us. We actually had a repeat guest as well, Liz Leonard with Your Franchise Fast Pass.
She was talking about her book.
Yeah.
Your Franchise Fast Pass. Very insightful. She's got a ton of knowledge. She's been a franchise, what do you call it? Franchise broker.
Yeah,
for several years now. It was fun when she was here though. Because we met with her last year and then this was her second trip back. And of course we see her at the conferences and things. And she said, yeah, I was kind of interested to see how you guys were, now that you've grown up in your franchising experience. And boy, that well put.
Yeah. Well, because our very first experience with her, we were not in any brokerage groups, right? So, and she works with the IFPG, which is a group that we weren't a part of. So she couldn't even sell us if she wanted to because she's exclusive with them.
Yep.
Well, now we are part of the IFPG. And so now she's starting to send us territory checks. And because of course she knows and trusts us. And so it's kind of fun. Plus she's got a great podcast too. And her presence on LinkedIn is amazing. So Liz Leonard, Your Franchise Fast Pass, you got to check that out if you can. Now we're close. We're in December, man, and it's Christmas season, and we had 2 firecrackers on just recently.
Listen, this podcast studio just about wasn't big enough for us and all the personality that came in with those 2 Puerto Rican lawyers.
Yeah, not just one Puerto Rican, but two young, bright.
They were so much fun. So I mean, they were great.
Yeah, Estella Simpkins is a estate planning attorney, so she can help you get your wills and trusts and all your documentation ready, your powers of attorney. And then we had E-Rich Clone Morales with Segarra and Associates. And she's on the other side. She's on the family side. So if you're going through prenups or divorces or, custody battles, and to learn about some of the insights. Like I didn't know that there was such a thing as bottomless alimony, lifetime alimony, and they just changed it. And I learned a lot from them, but they were just fun. So
they were fun.
If you just want to have a fun podcast, just listen to that podcast because it was an hour long though.
And informational.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So really good. Thank you, ladies, for coming on the show. It was very good. Well, I'm back. I think we need to come back.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. And then we found Joe Massetti with Building Talent Foundation. We talked about him a little bit earlier. He's part of the FBI, the HBI, Home Builders Association. He's friends with them and their Build Strong Academy. He was there at the job fair recruiting as well. So we got a couple of podcasts just from us going there. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
And so being able to partner with them and their platform, jobstobuild.com.
Oh, and he's so passionate about helping young people to get connected with jobs in the trades.
Well, in jobstobuild.com, it's like Indeed and ZipRecruiter, but it's free. And so us as employers can, instead of spending $1,200 a month trying to find employees on ZipRecruiter or Indeed, it's free for us to put our ads out there. And then there's students and there's people from all over. He works with, high schools and colleges and trade schools and heck, even with, penitentiaries, people coming out of jail, just trying to find a home, a job for them. A lot of fun for sure. And then frankly, by the time this podcast airs, this podcast with Jess Love from Home Smiles, episode 121.
Just recorded this week.
And Home Smiles is a almost like a sister brand. We're part of the Fran Growth team, and they're one of the first people with Fran Growth. And Jess is obviously was an attorney and was a very smart guy, but also a real estate guy. And then to hear how he got this business, Home Smiles, the idea for it, how he got it off the ground, and the juggernaut of a business that it is. I mean, just in a couple of years to have almost 150 territories in like 2 years is nuts.
Yeah. Well, and he was very instrumental in helping us to make a decision regarding coming on board with Fran Growth. He had nothing but positive things to say. Absolutely didn't think it was a mistake for him. I think that he stated this week in his podcast that within 2 years, they now have 146 territories sold, 60 owners. That's really impressive in 2 years.
Yeah.
So that was, when we saw that, number one, he's got a great idea, but we were also encouraged by Fran Growth that they are serious, that the things they told us are exactly what they're going to do. And we're kind of seeing that ourselves already early on.
Yeah, absolutely.
The podcast has become an avenue for us, number one, to just sit down once a week, which is great. But it also, because you're specifically designing this hour or two to talk about business things or franchising, that gives us a platform to bring really clever, smart people in. We gain information, we share information with them, and it raises our level. We level up because we're just hanging out with smart people.
And it raises the bar for us personally, and I believe it challenges our listeners so they can then have fresh ideas. Whether you're just starting in a business or you're seasoned, there's always something to learn. And I want to be part of that growth for people. And frankly, selfishly, I think that we're growing ourselves because we have great conversations with some really, really smart people.
It makes us better, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Well, I look forward to doing another 50 episodes next year. I know we already are booked out into January. It'll be exciting. We'll work our way through a holiday season, and then we'll be right back at it.
Absolutely. So listen, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for being a part of our show. If you are a new listener where you just kind of found us, I encourage you to go back and listen to some of the great podcasts that we've had over the past couple of years. Our very first podcast, Bill, I don't know if you remember, we released it July of 22.
That seems about right.
Yeah. Although we recorded it several weeks before that. But,
okay.
So we've been at this for over 2 years now. And
coming up on 2.5.
Yeah.
Frankly.
A lot of good stuff. And so anyways, thank you listeners for listening. I hope you have a great Christmas, New Year's, holiday season. Embrace your time with your family. Live life. Don't forget that business is more about what I want to say. I think business is about balance. Make sure you have your family life balance. And Bill, thank you for a great year.
Yeah.
And I hope that everyone has a blessed end of the year beginning in 2025. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.